I came across an interview you had done back in, I think it was 2019, around 2019, 2020. You were not in costume, but you did give a bit of insight about what that time was like for you, considering when COVID was at its heights and how certain things had stalled along the way because of the pandemic. And then from listening to that conversation you had, I forgot the gentleman's name that you spoke with, because otherwise I would have given him a shout out, but he dresses up as I think like a witch hunter as well too, if I recall correctly.
Oh, yeah, witch hunter. Yeah. The Salem witch hunter. Yes.
Yeah. So I forgot the gentleman's name, but otherwise I would have given him a shout out here. But it was interesting for me to listen to that conversation, because when having heard with what you were saying and how you go about and pretty much preparing to, because you had just gotten out of the costume, you could see some of the green makeup on your arm, and so I noticed that as well too. So
I actually, to be honest with you, the emergency was I have green fingernail polish on for the character. I was sitting, I had just walked into it, and it is an emergency because every second counts in October for me. I honestly did not set my alarm for our interview. I have it in the calendar, but I didn't set the alarm to remind me 30 minutes from now at 4 o'clock, I have an interview with you at 4:30. So I ran over to the nail salon to have my manicure done and my nails redone for the character for this week. And I saw your email and I'm like, oh shoot, I got to get out of here. So I ran out of the salon, jumped in the truck, headed back to the house, and here I am now. So that's what I was doing when I got here.
Well, I appreciate considering that, but here's the thing: what I wanted to delve into, because I was unaware of as far as who you were. It wasn't until Brim had brought you into the forefront where he had recommended about what you do and to delve into with that. Because I think one thing that because if Brim takes notice of something, there's something about them that he connects with here. I'm sure when you interact with him, there's something you guys clicked on right away and you hit it off, and then he's great. So
I'm so thankful that he connected us. That was really kind of him, and I really appreciate him doing that.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. Well, the thing is that I wanted to actually ask you about certain things that was really curious about with you, because I've never really, because Brim basically has brought something to me that I never considered in actually looking into. So in this case, for example, like with yourself, you're also a street performer as well too, dressing up as Borah out in Salem, and you put on an act and you interact with the crowd and people that walk through, especially for the Halloween season. I never once really considered at all to look out to speak with somebody who does that in that capacity here. And then when Brim elaborated further about what else you do to actually help out with the community, which added on more value as far as like you're not just. I'm not sure, because I don't want to sound cliche when I say it, but it's not like you're doing it for the sake of doing it. Right. Well, the thing is that there was something you offered more that added more value to what you do. And one of the things that I did pick up along the way as well, apart from the interviews that I did come across, was that you are interacting with the community to bring more awareness about local businesses and what the people are like in the area. And you ask them questions about, who they are and where they're from. So we have something that we can identify them with here. Absolutely. So when he recommended that, and I've heard those interviews you've done for the last several years, that's where I started noticing this is what Brim saw in a nutshell, where he saw the person getting to know the person. Yeah. So with that being said, I was really curious about two things right off the bat here. I'd never really considered of the amount of hard work that you go through to prepare. Because when I saw the makeup, I was like, this must have taken, I'm sure in the beginning might have taken a lot longer. Putting it on now, maybe the time has been a little bit short because you got into a rhythm to be able to put it on without having to concern yourself with things that you may have concerned yourself before, that you're able to kind of cruise through now. But even with that being said, even with you going through doing what you did earlier today, coming over here to talk to me, you have yourself quite occupied. I don't think I've truly understood like how much time this really consumes with what you do, because I think when I look at somebody in the beginning, when I just saw the video with you and Brim, doing the little TikTok video, I just honestly took it for granted. Right? No, yeah, I just took it for granted. Like, oh, it just was like a little fun little video, costume on, and then you go on with your day. I didn't realize the amount of work that's involved with that as well too. And that's the part.
He even brought that. He said, "Oh my God, I didn't know they took so long." I said, "Yes, they do, Brim."
Yes.
And this one we just threw together. we threw it together because I didn't want to take his time up.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask you about too, because when you started first doing this here, I was curious about what it was that you found to be fulfilling, apart from, I'm sure, dressing up and making people happy and just interacting with the crowd. But I really wanted to find out what it was that made it fulfilling for you to be able to continue on, because you've been doing this for a number of years now, but for you to still maintain since 2016, right? So you have been doing this for quite some time, but in the fact that you've still been able to remain consistent with that, I would say, and being able to develop a relationship with the community, because I think if I recall correctly, you're not from Salem originally here. Is that correct?
No, I am not. No,
okay.
I was born in South Carolina, went to, lived in Cincinnati, where I went to college for a while, then Florida, then Georgia or Atlanta, and now here in Salem, where I've always wanted to move from day one and where I plan to die, right here in Salem.
So what is it about Salem for you that made you want to move there from, I'm assuming, from a young age here? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. You've hit on a lot of things. Can I just back up a little bit and touch on some things that you had mentioned?
Yeah, sure.
You said that it takes a lot of work. You didn't realize how much time and effort it took to do this. So I've been doing this 2016, about 6 years or so. I'm bad at math. 2016 minus 2022 is how many ever years that is. I've had foot surgery from plantar fasciitis, from wearing the shoes and walking on the cobblestones, stones here in Salem. If you can see, I don't even know if you can see or not, but when I take off the nose and the chin, which are prosthetics from the makeup, I have to scrape off the glue from using a special cloth. I've got scratches on my face from taking the glue off. My voice, I lose my voice, and I'm the second week of October, I can't even talk. So and physically, it wears me out because the way I walk and the way I stand. And it takes a toll on my relationship with my spouse because I spend a lot of time on social media. And my spouse told me, I would pull my phone out answering questions after 5:30. And finally, my spouse said, you got to stop that. You got to come up with hours and 9 to 5, and that's it. So because I have followers all over the world that message me in different time zones, and I feel like when I'm awake at 9 o'clock at night, I have to answer them. Otherwise, I'll forget or to get lost or buried in the other in messages. So it is a lot of stress and strain and physical wear and tear on my body, and it actually impacts my relationship with my family because I can't visit them certain months like August through the end of October, or actually July through October, because I'm working on this constantly. And I work on this every single day that I'm not doing my regular job where I work 3 days a week. I'm doing this. This is a full-time job. And so that answers that question. It's a lot of physical, mental labor in it, and it wears on relationships that I have.
Do you ever feel like it's worth it at times, despite some of the strain that it may cause on you, your loved ones, where you're losing a lot of time, and then to some degree you're going through some pain along the way too, because you talked about some of the experiences you've had with I forgot what it was you said earlier about with the shoes, but yeah, your foot surgery, where
and my right knee, my right knee has given me problems now.
Well, and that's the thing though, like going through with what you're going through now, do you feel like it's because it's clearly obvious you enjoy it, it's obvious, but at the same time, do you ever second guess yourself and think, can I do this so much longer before I reach that threshold, or maybe take a cut back and just dedicate certain times to be able to do this here, certain days a week, and then all the other days will be focused on my family, my friends, and time for myself. Because I'll be frank with you, just hearing you say that right now, there's a part of me that thinks like, how are you still giving me the time of your day to speak with me on this here? Because there's still a lot that and I hope this doesn't come up the wrong way, but I would imagine that with this extra hour you have, you probably would have used it on somebody else that, in this case with your spouse or with some friends and family to communicate with them, to catch up with them, whatever the case may be. So do you ever feel like at certain points it's worth with what you're going through, or do you second guess yourself and realize that I may have to reconsider certain things and reevaluate with how I'm going about it moving forward?
I have thought several times that, I need to retire this character because it not only what I just told you about. For example, this hour I could be playing with my dog or talking to my mom, which I tried to call twice today when I was in the truck. My spouse doesn't even know this. I went to make a delivery to someone that helped me with a party I gave this weekend. And I ran into a fire hydrant and tore my front right fender off the truck because I wasn't paying attention, because when I was backing up, I was dialing someone to talk to them about something going on this weekend with this witch. And I was leaving my friend's house that, as I just said, I was delivering something that relates to this whole witch thing. So yeah, it cost me an arm and a leg to do this. And so, yes, I have thought about, I got to retire this character. And one of the things that makes me think that I need to retire this character sooner than later is the toll that it takes on me and my spouse, because he tells me you're not as focused on this relationship as you need to be. And he's right. He's absolutely right. Because we'll be having a conversation, and he'll say, and then a few minutes later I'll say, well, what let's go do so and so. And he said, I just said we were going to do this. You weren't listening. You were talking with me, but you weren't listening. You weren't invested. You need to invest in this relationship more and get your mind off of work, like the witch work. Not my regular job, my witch work. I think about this witch work more than I do my regular job, which is a full-time job, 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts as a respiratory therapist in a hospital. So yeah, this witch consumes most of my life. I'm not complaining.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next. But so this is actually, I actually am really surprised to hear this, because like I said before, I took it for granted with what you're doing here, because I just assumed that, yes, I do agree. I do believe that you're having fun, but I didn't think of the ramifications as far as like the amount of stress that it has on you. But it seems like you're still getting something out of it. But so here's what I'm curious then, because you're thinking about eventually retiring the character because the toll it's taking on you and your relationships. But with the amount of relationships you've developed because of this character, do you still plan on maintaining that same what's the best way to say it, the momentum that you have, where you've developed this relationship with everybody in the area, where you show up and help in that capacity, but just not as Borah, if that makes any sense?
So what I do is what I help with what I help with the community. What I do is I'm going to circle back to answer that question. I think this is what you're asking. And so this may be the wrong answer or right answer. I don't know, depending on what you just asked. So in October, people come up and they take a picture and they leave $1, $5, $20 during the month of October. And I take a portion of that and I donate it to different charities in Salem.
Right.
This past Friday, I gave a party, and it was a Halloween party, and there was a fee. So I'm also going to donate a portion of that money that we charged for the tickets to children's charity this year. So if I were to retire the witch, I think what you're asking, would I continue to do what I do for the community and donate? Yes, in some aspect, yes, I will always continue to give to the community, to the kids here in the community, and to different charities in Salem. Yes.
Okay.
Was that your question, kind
That
of?
was the question. I guess the way I realized just when you said when you were asking when you were trying to answer the question, I didn't realize that the way I came across how I asked it. So the fact that you still were able to answer it despite the way I asked, I appreciate that because I do think a lot as I talk. So if my questions are elongated, it's because I'm thinking of something and open, and I always have a habit of attacking on some stuff here. So,
That's why he
but
write down some stuff. Okay, he's talking about this, but he's continuing to talk. So, oh, I got to write this down because he's now 5 miles down the road. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. So I'm writing notes that I want to hit as you talk.
no good, no worries. Well, so here's something else that I was curious about because when you talked about earlier with regards about the toll it takes on your voice because that's actually the one thing that I remember the first thing that crossed my mind was the voice you put on because in the various interviews that I've come across where you are dressed up as Borah and you are interviewing the various people in the area, you still maintain that voice. But I remember at one point I was saying there's got to be a point where his voice is just shutting down. So, and since you've been doing it since 2016, I'm curious about if you have been able to develop a skill to warm up the voice, find a way to be able to develop the skill to be able to maintain it, sustain it, build some endurance for it. So by the time you're done with it, you don't have as much strain in your voice as you probably would if you did in the very beginning here. So anything of that sort that you've done as of late to be able to maintain that, or you just raw?
No, because I don't because I don't.
Okay.
I don't have. I shouldn't say this, but I don't take the time to do it. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I am getting into makeup around 6:30, 6:45. And then I leave the house about 8:30 and I find my spot on Essex Street, which is a pedestrian walkway where you'll find most of the buskers or street performers like myself.
Right.
And I'll claim that spot and then I'll go and walk around and talk to the businesses that are opening up or street vendors as Borah. I just go and check on things, make sure everybody's happy or angry or, feeling cranky, and just having fun and joking around. And then I'll go to a couple restaurants, maybe have coffee and then circle back at 10 o'clock and start the busking / street performing. And I'll stop about 4 o'clock and go home. I got to load all my stuff back. I have this huge cauldron that I use as a tip container, and I have a smoke machine in it, so it smokes. And I load that in the car. I get back to the house, and I take all my stuff off, shower, break everything down, wash clothes, answer social media, which I cannot maintain my social media. I cannot keep up with all the questions and all the comments that are on all the platforms that I use, but I do my best. And then I prepare for the next day and eat dinner real quick and watch TV for about 30 minutes, and I jump into bed and I'm done about 11 o'clock. So it's a full-time job. I don't even talk to my family or make phone calls in the month of October. I don't talk to my mom, which is horrible. I may talk to her on Mondays or Tuesdays, but Thursday through Sunday, that's what it's like. So, yeah.
Here's one thing I was actually really curious about with you because there's obviously some benefits to doing this here, but there's also something obviously you've already touched before on more than one occasion about the strain that it causes on you to in various degrees. But when you're out there, performing, for the amount of years you've done it here so far, has there ever been a point where you were out there performing where you realize I just gotta stop? I'm done. I want to walk away from this here right now. Like maybe right in the middle of something, or you're conversing with somebody, maybe not in character, but you're just conversing with somebody and you just realize I gotta stop because this is going nowhere for me right now. I feel like I've hit rock bottom or not hit rock bottom, but just hit a wall where it's just, I can't go forward with this anymore. Like, do you ever have those moments where that comes to mind during some of those performances, if you will, out in the street?
Not necessarily hit rock bottom, but more like, no, moments where it's like, I can't stop because I get frustrated sometimes because I always constantly have lines and lines and lines of people and groups of people, 50, give or take, at one time that's waiting to get a picture with this witch or just standing there watching, and I don't stop talking. I don't stop moving. I don't stop improvising, and I need water. I need to eat because I don't eat the whole time. I don't go to the bathroom the whole time. And I have to make myself stop to drink water. So I don't have moments of I hit rock bottom, I need to walk away. I have moments where it's like I got to take care of myself. I have got to stop. If I stop, these people don't get what they want. They don't get what they need. They don't get what they came for, which is this witch. And there's kids, there's people in wheelchairs, there's people with special needs or autistic people that come year after year after year after year after year to see this witch. And I've seen kids grow up. I posted something this morning about a kid that came around several years ago and came every year. And one year she was scared. One year she was happy to see me. The next year she was really afraid. So this year she came up and said that this is the first time she came up to me without her parents on her own, and she created a painting that she gave me a painting. And she said that she grew up with me and she can't imagine life without this witch. And I make her feel connected to the Halloween world, and that she gets picked on as a kid a lot, and she feels secure when she's around me and watches my videos. So I'm kind of jumping around here. So that's what keeps me going. That's one thing that keeps me going. The other thing too is one day I was out and I go through these, I wear contact lenses. When I wear and I can't see far off, I can't read. So one day I had my contacts in and it was like I couldn't see. And what I'm doing is when I'm interacting with the people that are with this witch, I'm focused on them, but I'm also using my peripheral vision, watching people around or standing around, because I will make jokes or talk about somebody that's walking by or standing in the audience. So one day, this past week, I couldn't see. I literally could not see 2 inches in front of me, and it was so frustrating. And it was like looking through mayonnaise smeared on glasses. It was just opaque. I couldn't see. And I was so frustrated. I was so angry, and it was interfering with my spontaneous improvisation, and my comments. And I wanted to walk away. So yes, at that moment, I wanted to walk away, and I came home and I told my husband, I said, that made me angry. I couldn't see. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I couldn't see. I'm blind as a freaking bat, and it's very frustrating. So I did have that moment.
Okay.
So yeah, I did have that moment. But then I went to the eye doctor. I was able to get an eye appointment like that the next day, and I got some new contacts, and I used them for the first time 2 days later, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're good. It was a wonderful day.
Do you ever come across people who are rude, may make some snarky remarks, or maybe not react in a positive light towards you? Like if you make a comment about them and they may say something in retaliation, like do you ever have those kind of moments where you interact with people that may react in a more negative light, if you will? I
don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, and it depends on what they look like. I'm going to say whatever, I may call them Hey Kardashian or Barbie or Elvira, whatever. So I've not had anyone react like you had asked yet. I've had people come up and say, because this is a snarky, smart-ass witch who just will rag on you, talk about old people, but it's a fun, loving way, and they laugh their butts off. So they'll come up to me sometimes and they'll say, hey, can you just bless me out or tell my boyfriend off or say something funny or make fun of him or her? And it's like they get off on this witch ragging the crap out of them. And I do that. And it's a lot of fun. So I haven't had anything negative yet. I've had a couple of kids start a fight with each other in front of me, and not necessarily related to what you asked, but as far as negative, they started a fight with each other, and then they circle around behind me, using me as a wall. So as the witch, I stopped everything because I had a whole bunch of people in front of me, and I whipped around and I said, I don't remember what I said because I don't remember what I say, but I basically told them to stop it and to get the hell out of here and never do this in front of me or any other busker again, and go. I reacted as Borah would react. So it was funny to the audience members, but it scared the hell out of the kids. So they took off. So I stay in character the whole time. And I don't have a handler, so I had to handle that myself.
Interesting. You ever been in a position where you ever had like any dry spells where, let's say, you've had a consistent turnout where people want to take pictures with you, but has there ever been moments where throughout the times you've been out there where you're not getting a response from anybody? Like, you ever had those type of moments as well?
There are moments when people walk away because they're tired of waiting in line. They're because you got people that are fighting to pull out their phone, or they're looking for their phone, their camera. There are really no dry moments.
Okay.
Now there are some people when I do finish a group, and people are walking by, and they're looking. That's when I start cracking on people. I'll crack on people and catcalling and making jokes at people, and they come over. So that dry period only lasts a couple of seconds, but I welcome that dry period because I can take a bite of a think bar or a smart bar or drink some water. So I welcome those dry moments.
Interesting.
Or I will stop in the middle of it and I have to drink. I have to drink water. It's so dry.
What's actually one thing about yourself that you could say that either you learn a lot about, let's say, for example, like if there's something that you probably didn't know you're really capable of pulling off, that by doing this, you've learned something about yourself that you probably didn't know you were able to pull off here, whether it be, I mean, I'm sure you had a pretty social personality, but I'm wondering if in this capacity here, where you're actually in character for a lengthy period of time, if there's something that you've taken away from that made you realize that of what you're truly capable of pulling off here, that you probably wouldn't have been able to done on your own if it wasn't for you portraying Borah.
Something that I have gained from this character that I normally wouldn't be able to do that I can do now. Is that what you're asking?
Something to that effect, yeah. Like something you realize that you, as you did this, you've learned something about yourself along the way that made you realize that either you're capable of pulling something off, you're capable of doing something that you probably wouldn't be doing, as yourself, but through this character, you've learned a lot about yourself that you've been able to take away and add on to your more or less your personal set of values or whatever the case be. I know it's not the best way to ask, but I'm just trying to see if there's something you may have picked up along the way.
Empathy and compassion for a stronger empathy and compassion for I want to be politically correct because I don't want to offend anybody, but folks with special needs. I've become more patient and more understanding, and I gained a lot more compassion and empathy for the parents and the loved ones that take care of people that may have special needs. And I see how hard it is and how difficult it is for parents that may have an autistic kid, because there's different levels of autism. Yeah. And the ones that are on one extreme side of it do require a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry not only for that kid or that adult, but I feel sorry for their parents or their caretakers. And I have grown to love them, a lot, because when they see this witch or any other character, but when they see this witch, something inside them ignites, something lights up inside them, their eyes, you can see it in their soul, you can see it in their mannerisms. Did I say that right?
Mhm.
And they just change, and they just become, it's an amazing experience. And then if I, you sometimes you can tell where the parents, I've learned, through this, how to back off, or what I can get away with, or what I can say, or what I can do, or how much energy I should have at the moment for this character, for this particular person that's coming up to this witch, and I can adjust the energy that I'm doing, or the voice, or the loudness, and so I've learned to do that, so I don't scare them. And what I enjoy doing too is I love giving them little gifts, like a kid will say, I love witches, or the parents will say, Andy loves witches. And I have this whole bank of toys that I'll give away, like witch hats, and I'll give them a witch hat. And that just adds to their excitement. And the parents are like, is this theirs? Like, yes, it's theirs. It's hers or his.
Do you think that as you continue doing this here, because I mean, you've come to a point where you're considering eventually retiring the character, but is there, when you think about that, do you reflect on like how much you would possibly miss the, not the opportunities, but just the connection you've been able to develop because of this character, where you realize that, there's a part of the thing, this was worth it. I mean, it is strenuous, but it is worth it. And this is why when eventually when I step away from this, I will miss all of this here. But they ever consider somewhere down the line where you may think maybe one day I'll come back and revisit it, or once you retire this character, that's it?
When I think of retiring this character, it makes me sad.
Okay.
It makes me not sad that I'll miss it. It makes me sad for those that love this character so much. There are thousands, literally, of people all over the globe that come to Salem every year that know this character, that message me every single day, and especially it hypes up during September through the end of November, that love this character, that talk about how this character has changed their lives, how this character has influenced their lives. I got a message today that one of the regulars that used to come every year, that comes every year, her mom died, and her mom used to love to sit in her wheelchair a few feet away for like an hour when they would come to Salem and just watch what this witch does and how this witch interacts with people. I got an email or a message from a grandmother whose granddaughters were picked on. One was tall, and people picked on her because she was tall. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to commit suicide. And her other granddaughter, the sister, had a speech impediment, and she gets picked on a lot in high school about the way she talks. And she said she has periods where she doesn't speak, and asked me if I could send a video to both of them. So I did, an encouraging video. I've had kids' parents that came up and they said, Mikey has autism and he never talks. But prior to them saying that, they brought Mikey up, and he was about 5 years old. And he said, witch, you're a witch. And he came and hugged me. And they were shocked. They said, he never talks, and he saw you and he said this. he'll probably talk once every year.
Mm.
And he saw you and he just started talking. And the looks in their eyes and the tears that the dad had and the mom had. There was an Asian kid that was autistic, and there was someone from Haunted Happenings magazine recorded this interaction, and it went viral a couple of years ago in 2019. And she was, I think, 3 or 4 at the time, and she got out of her push cart and started walking to me and started signing to me, and the parents interpreted and said that she's saying that you're a witch, which I think is this in sign language, and that I love you. And so I handed her the wand, and so she started playing with the wand, and she started teaching me sign language. I taught her how to play with the wand, and so it's like that. If I retire, this witch, that is what I'll miss more than me. But it does, that's what I'll miss.
Interesting.
Is how it influences other people, and the joy that it brings other people, and the tears that I know people have from how this witch is, or what this witch does for people. It's just not fun and games and
right.
It goes deep, which I never ever thought it would be like when I started this whole thing.
Well, that was actually going to lead into my next question, because and you've already pretty much answered it, because what I was going to follow up with you on that was that, when you had started this year, I think it's a fair assumption to make that, you intended on having fun with it, but I don't think maybe at certain points you may have considered how impactful this character would have been, affecting a lot of people's lives, where they're happy to see you, and the positive effect it has on them as well too. So when did you notice that impact in the positive light, where someone had come up to you and said, this character, or Borah helped me through these times, or seeing you brought some happiness where I get to enjoy and forget about my problems, and then just enjoy the moment of you doing what you do? Because I'm sure when you first heard that, maybe somewhere at that point you realized that this is actually a lot more deeper than I anticipated. Like, what was that first time for you when you realized that?
What was it like that first time?
The first time when you realized that the impact that it had, for someone to come up and tell you that your Borah helped me in dealing with X, Y, and Z, or Borah brings, when I saw you perform, it brought me happiness too, and I forgot about my problems. Because what you just described to me just now about what you'll be missing here, I'm wondering when you first noticed how that impact you had on those kids and their families, when you noticed it the first time around, how that what your character brought to them in that capacity. I hope the question makes sense. Forgive me if it sounds a little lopsided.
No, I think you're asking me how did it impact me?
When you first noticed, when you realized this character has a positive impact to this degree here.
I didn't notice that degree until like 2016. I started this, probably about 2017.
Okay.
In November, December of 2017, because that's, I had to give it I guess a good year, second year being out there,
right,
and doing videos and making that expanding through the internet, and making more connections with people. Well, I'm kind of going in circles here. At first it was like, oh, that's nice. That's great. I'm glad it didn't really hit me until probably in late 2018, 17. And until I started getting these messages from people, and it was quite impactful. And I couldn't wrap my head around this silly, stupid, snarky green witch that is making fun of people. Why would it impact people like that? Why would I asked myself, why would people feel that this green witch is making them feel accepted in the Halloween community? because outside of the Halloween community, a lot of people are shunned or looked down on because they're weird, because they like to wear black, they're gothic, or they like Michael Myers, or they wear, you know, the Bride of Frankenstein T-shirts. So I was surprised that this witch could make people feel part of a community. I don't know if I answered that or not.
It does, and that's the thing. I'm not sure what the response is going to be, so I'm curious to see what what your experience is like, because I think I'll be frank with you. I didn't really see the full effect that this character had on the community, because I mean I did see the interviews I mentioned before in the earlier, where you're talking with local businesses and you're talking with the people in the community, just getting to know them, who they are, and that part is what I felt like is where the authenticity comes out, where you want to get to know the people, and I did notice it from early on. But what I didn't realize, the effect that it had, where someone would come up to you and tell you that your character made me feel good, your character made me a better person, or your character got my son or daughter to speak when they barely speak in the first place. So I didn't really anticipate to honestly hear that. So, and I could see why Brim had said you need to talk to Brian, because this is something that like I said, if Brim is saying something in somebody and says you need to talk to them, there's a good reason for that here, because I trust his judge of character as well. But what I found really in a lot of ways, I'll be frank, it's really inspiring to hear this here. But what I truly find fascinating is that despite all those the chaos that comes with this stuff here, to me, you seem pretty even keel with, throughout this whole ordeal, with the good that comes with it and the bad that comes with it. So I guess my question now is that how you've been able to keep your composure despite, the hectic schedule you have and the hurdles that comes with it as well too, and being able to try to maintain yourself in that respect.
There's a lot of times at work that I'm like so unfocused, and people at work will probably hear this and go, "Oh my God, you can't be unfocused at work." It takes a lot for me to maintain my composure, as far as I have to stay focused at work on my patients, because I could be thinking about what I need to do for this party that I just gave last Friday, what I need to do to prepare for the party. I got to learn jokes. I'm always thinking about, what do I need to do to take this to the next level? What do I need to do to prepare for next week? So I have to ground myself, and I don't do that quite often. I don't do that easily, because I have such a passion for doing this. So it takes a lot for me to maintain my composure. Even, for instance, so everybody in Salem knows me and my husband. They know my car. So if I get impatient driving, I have to maintain my composure, because they'll say, "Oh, Borah just got pissed off and flicked somebody the bird." I can't do that. I have to be aware, because I was at Disney. I was at Disney World in 2019, and a couple of Disney employees recognized me like this, because of interviews and stuff, because they follow me and my social media. I mean, anywhere I go, people will recognize me. I'll walk down the street and somebody from Australia will say, "Pardon me for asking, I don't want to be a creep. This happened the other day. Are you Borah?" Yeah. So I have to be aware all the time that there's eyes on me, and I have to maintain my composure and always do the right thing. I am human. I do get impatient. I do get frustrated at traffic. I do, I am human. I have faults. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. So I have to, I don't want Brian's bad habits to give Borah, a bad reputation.
Well, so then this brings up something else for me then, because I'm glad I asked this question because this actually offers some insight about how you manage yourself under the public eye, if you will. Because obviously, I'm assuming that when you first started, I don't think you would have imagined the amount of attention you would be getting with this character, and then the amount of people that you are interacting with who know you from afar, and then when they see you up close and personal, say, "Are you Borah?" When you started getting that kind of reaction, or people were coming up to you and noticing and know you who you are, know your character, the first time around, was it something that I would assume it caught you by surprise, but is it one of those situations where you realize that this was just for fun, but clearly this has gone up a whole nother level here? And then how did you first deal with it? And then as the years have gone by, have you learned to manage that aspect of the public awareness that your character has as a result of social media and everything else that comes with that?
So what was the first part of that question?
So basically what I was just trying to confirm was that when you first started getting noticed for Borah, whether you're out of character or you're in character, and someone recognized you, that and the attention that they were giving you, like, hey, I know you, and then people would just start crowding around you more, and the attention started building up from there. But then you talked about going to Disneyland, where someone said, hey, you are Borah, I know you, I saw this interview. Once you started seeing that attention that comes with the character and the amount of scrutiny that comes with it as well too, when you started noticing that the first time around, how did you learn to deal with that? And then as the years have gone by, how have you learned to manage that a little bit? Because you kind of touched upon it too, about how you conduct yourself, but being able to deal with the public attention that you're getting as a result of the character, where now you've been doing it since 2016, almost a decade at this point, where you realize that, okay, now I've gone through this hurdle, I'm able to adapt a little bit better now. I'm curious to see how you've been able to handle that from when you first started getting that attention into where you are with it now, and how you manage yourself under that public awareness, if you will.
Uh, when it first happened, I was not aware of people noticing, and I would just not be looking at myself from the outside and monitoring myself. But now now I know that the eyes are always on me, and I have to just be professional and also be myself at the same time. So it's so I just have to just be aware, and I don't know if I'm answering that or not correctly. I just have to be aware, and just know that eyes are always on me. I mean, I'm sitting here now at my window, and people can walk by and notice me. I mean, in fact, I had to change my post office box because I do giveaways once a month on my social media. And so we came home twice, and there were strangers standing at the door taking pictures. And my husband said, "What are you guys doing? This is Borah's house. We're just taking pictures." And he says, "This is a private home. Please don't do that. There's been gifts left on my front step." So we had to change the mailing address for that reason. So I'm just aware of it, and I have to. That's all. I just have to be aware of it and just be cautious of what I say and do.
Was that concerning to you when you and your husband first saw people at your doorsteps taking pictures? Like when you realized, when you saw that, like, was that like, holy shit, this is something else, that's another level that I did not anticipate, and we got to fix it? Like, what was that initial reaction like at first, and how do you handle that now moving forward?
It was actually made me very nervous, and it was freaky, and it's like, okay, I hope that there's crazies out there. I hope that no one breaks into the house,
right?
Or what have you. So now I am very well aware. We have cameras all over the house, outside, and I'm always just observant. So it's just crazy. I mean, I was at a restaurant one day here in Salem, and I guess a follower came up to me, and she had something that she had purchased from a store. It was an item, a Borah item. And I was as me, not as Borah. And she says, I hate to interrupt. I know you're having breakfast. Do you mind if you sign this? Can you please sign this for me? You're Brian, right? You're Borah. And so I'm always aware. I have to be. It's just weird. It's just a stupid green witch. It's just so weird.
What? So does that add on to one for you to eventually want to retire the character for those reasons as well too? Because the thing is that you retire the character, but people still know who you are, and they will remember you. Hey, you were Borah, so now you have a whole new set of public awareness that you are no longer Borah anymore because you retired the character. And then I'm assuming that what happened? Why did you do this here? And I'll be frank with you. I'm really hoping that this will sum up all the questions and answering it for them, because it seems like I honestly didn't expect this here, because I was hoping, when you had shared the story, this actually went a lot more deeper than I anticipated, which is great, because the thing is that this is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, that the amount of attention someone gets here is not the attention that they really want. If you understand what I'm going with here, I think there's a certain idea that what people anticipate, if you're getting attention, that's a good thing, because then you get more opportunities. But those opportunities may be fine, but everything else associated with those opportunities, as far as like people showing up my door, people disturbing while I'm eating breakfast, or if I'm hanging out with my friends and family, they're coming in and say, hey, can you just sign one thing here for me? I promise that's all I need. There's that side of it as well too, which for someone who's not aware of how taxing that can be for somebody, you retiring the character, from my perspective, I don't think will be the end of it all, where people are going to say, hey, Brian's retired Borah, therefore we're done. It's okay. We're moving on to other endeavors here. But instead, I think what I see happening here, and I'll be honest, I hope it doesn't happen, but I do see it happen, where you used to be Borah. What happened? Why did you stop? And then those type of attentions will be coming and hovering over you, where, why don't you do this anymore? My kid loved you. And then I'm wondering, is there going to be a negative impact as a result of that as well too, that I'm wondering if you are learning how to prepare for as well.
Well, it would be sad to disappoint those kids or those adults,
Right.
It's really sad. You'd asked earlier, would I come back as Borah after I retire Borah?
Right.
Probably, maybe. But back to the question, it would be it's I don't know. Yeah, I never thought of that before. And I want to say this, out of all and I've had a lot of interviews. This one is the deepest that I've ever had. And this has been the most vulnerable interview I've ever had. Just saying.
Well, the thing is that
they're all like light and fluffy, and they're talking, and we're talking about the surface stuff. But we've talked about some of this stuff before.
Yeah.
But this is not other interviews, but this is the.
Because the thing is that this is the part that really interests me the most, because I'm more interested in knowing about the person's vulnerabilities. Not to say that I'm not trying to point out the weakest moments. That's not what I'm implying here. But what I'm more focusing on is the
humanistic side.
Yeah, exactly. Like the real person under those. So if someone, it's easy for me to see that if someone says, "Hey, I love Borah," great. That's the easy side of it here. But what I'm really interested in here is the things that I am not aware of here that comes with you portraying the character, which is something I did not expect at all. And that's something that I think a lot of people have to understand and really truly respect of what it is that you go through. Because I think the hardest thing for someone like myself who looked at it on face value, that this looks like a lot of fun, but not understanding the hard work that goes with it, not just the makeup and the character and then the physical ailments that you've gone through, but all the other stuff that surrounds it as well too, that I don't think a lot of people truly understand. That's the part that I'm more interested in, because if you've been able to maintain this since 2016, and as time has gone by, you've gotten more and more popular, and then all the things that come with it, whether it be positives, which I'm sure there's a lot of it, but there's also negatives as well too, in areas that I think most people don't anticipate that surprise them the most. And that's the part where I'm more interested in learning about how you handle that at that time and where you are with it now. Because what makes me truly understand a person in those moments is who they really were under those circumstances. That's where I think a lot of people can learn the most from them, as opposed to, I love dressing up as Borah and it's great. That's fine. But that's not the part I'm interested in here. So I appreciate you saying that, because this is, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but that's what I'm more interested in learning about the person and under those hard moments here, because I think that's where you really get to learn. Because if someone watches this here, I've said this before a million times, and I mean it every time. I hope whoever comes across and listens to this and hears your story and hears those vulnerable moments, and they say, yeah, I shouldn't have bothered him when he was eating breakfast with his husband, or, but I mean, I understand what you meant by that, but that's what I'm trying to say, that if it's important, I think, people to understand that and respect the boundaries, if you will, I'm sure if you want to take a picture with me, give me a second, let me just finish my meal, and then I'll give you 5 minutes or whatever the case may be.
I would never, ever want to be, I don't think I'm an arrogant person at all. And I am very grateful and humbled and excited and thankful for what has come out of this. So if somebody does interrupt me during breakfast, I will stop and take time with that person. I was walking with my husband and my dog down Essex Street one day, and this whole family from another state asked me, "Are you Borah?" And I took my time. I take my time and I talk with them and I give them the attention that they deserve. It happened this morning again when I was walking my dog, and they were from out of town, and I give them the attention that they deserve. And I would never say to them, just let me finish eating my breakfast. I would never say that,
Okay.
I mean, I've been in a situation where I don't go star crazy over celebrities and, crap my pants. I don't do that. I go, and I, maybe want to ask them for their autograph. I would ask them for their autograph in that moment, thinking that they're here and let me just do it while they're here. And I don't, I would never, ever, I don't know where I'm going with this. I would never say, stop, let me just let me eat my breakfast.
You would never shun anybody away is basically what you're saying at the end of the day.
No, because whatever this character is, and for wherever level this character is at or whatever, they made this character who this character is. This character would not be making an impact or be as popular as this character is if it wasn't for any of these people, these followers.
So you feel like you owe it to them to give them the time of the day to.
I don't feel like I owe it. Like, oh, I owe you something because you gave me something. I don't feel that at all. No.
Okay.
I do not feel like, oh, I owe it you, so tit for tat. No.
Okay.
I want to give it to them because I'm an extrovert, because I enjoy talking to people, and I'm thankful for them coming up to me and saying thank you, or can I have a picture? I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that, and I appreciate that. But no, I don't feel like, oh, I owe it to you because you follow me. And in fact, there's other buskers or other people that say, "Ooh, your fans, Borah's fans." I don't even like that. I don't like the word fans, because it to me that's arrogant. That's on a different level. That's Bruce Springsteen, Martha Stewart. Those people have fans,
Right.
I think I'm humble, more I'm humbled and thankful and grateful. I'm not saying that Bruce Springsteen and Martha Stewart aren't, and I'm not even at that level. No way, and will I ever be at that level. I'm just saying, in this moment in time, I'm embarrassed for people to call my followers fans. I'm almost embarrassed for them to be called followers. I'm embarrassed part of me is embarrassed to even have this attention.
Interesting.
You know? I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's a lot. Believe me, it's fun, you know? And I get gifts all the time. People send me gifts all the time. Like, somebody painted this picture.
That's a great picture. What does it say? Dead bodies? Is that what it said on there?
It looks just like Borah. I mean, it really looks like Borah. It says dead bodies because instead of when people take pictures, instead of saying cheese, I say dead bodies or stinky feet or moldy cheese or whatever.
Right.
I mean, here's another gift that someone made. It's a pen. Can't really see it.
I can see it there. Yeah, I can see it now.
Yeah, I mean, like this, I'm surrounded with, here's another gift. Somebody sent this today. This is at one of the restaurants called Red Sandwich Shop.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They have they have a sandwich every October, Borah's Benny, and then they have a Borah Sangria. And so somebody made a framed picture, and this is the advertisement. It's hard to see. A Borah holding the sangria. So this is another gift. I get gifts all the time. I'm so thankful. So I don't feel worthy of that. There's a doll. There's a doll that looks like a mini Borah sitting there in the den that somebody brought to the Halloween party that I gave the other day. They went and bought it and brought it to the party for me. Here's another one. Look at this. This is insane. Someone from another country, Australia or somewhere, made this little Borah doll. It looks just like Borah. It's creepy because it looks like Borah. It's got the missing teeth, the details in the eyes and the hat, the bird nests and the hat. I mean, the point is people send stuff all the time. I don't feel worthy of it, and I don't feel like anybody owes me anything. And it's embarrassing when other people say you're fans. And I almost feel that way when people say followers. Here's some candles. Somebody gave me this yesterday on the street, candles. I thought of you. This one smells like harvest apple. And I think of you. I think of fall. I think of Halloween. So I gave you this harvest candle. And this one looks like a candy that you get when you trick or treat. So I want you to have these candles.
Interesting.
Another gift. Here. Another gift. Here. Another gift. They're everywhere. My basement, where they built coffins.
Yeah.
In my house, they built coffins in the basement here in Salem.
Okay.
And when you go down the basement, there's paintings of Borah, more paintings that people have painted and given to me.
So does it get overwhelming receiving all the amount of gifts that are being sent to you? Like, do you feel, I'm not, and of course you said you're very good and I believe you, but it's just that I guess I'm curious about, I don't know if I'll be straightforward and ask, like,
just ask.
Slow down, guys. I've got a lot of this stuff here right now and I have no place to put it. Like, do you ever have those kind of moments for yourself?
I have the moments like, where am I going to put this? Where am I going to put this stuff? And but I also think this person took the time to paint this. This
Right.
person put a lot of thought into this gift. And who am I to say, don't send that stuff, I mean, somebody sent me a message today, what's your mailing address? I want to send you something. And I said, you don't have to do that. I tell them, you don't have to do that. I mean, kids will come up and give me little drawings. I got some down. I got somewhere here. Drew that they brought for me in October. because they came, when they came to Salem in October, the parents said, she drew a picture for you. Here's the picture. She wanted to come to you and bring it to you.
What's the weirdest gift you've ever gotten from somebody?
That's a good question. I don't think there's a weird gift, but the one that was the creepiest gift is the doll here I just showed you, because it looks just so much like Borah. It's just creepy looking if you saw it in person.
I get a good glimpse of it from there. But so as far as like, yeah, I saw that too. But as far as like the gifts are concerned, because there's not enough room to put them. Are you considering maybe one day, after you retire the character, maybe if you have the ability to do it, put it up, maybe like I don't know, museum or some sort of art gallery for the amount of years that you have invested with the community and what Borah has brought to the community as well too. Then therefore it could be warranted for you to be able to have more or less like a I don't know what's the best way to say it, like an art gallery of Borah stuff of people that sent you throughout the years, and then you were able to showcase and let the public see that this I got from Australia, this I got from South America, whatever the case may be, and these are all the people that I have somehow in some way, through Borah I've connected with here, and they have gifted me all these things here. So I want to say thank you to all and have a look. Like, you ever consider doing something like to that degree?
No, because to me that would be arrogant. It'd be like, oh, here's my shrine, here's my stuff. I can't. It would. Why would I? I don't feel worthy enough to do that. I don't feel worthy enough to do that. I don't feel worthy enough to do that. No. The museum here has a whole section of the Halloween museum. It has a Borah section. And they said, we need your input. We need this to come out of your mind. How would you design this Borah section, Borah's house, a part of Borah's? We want to look into Borah's life. So there's a little Borah section there. I'm humble and thankful for that. And I had to do a little TV interview or an interview to play on their video screen.
Right.
As part of that installation. They've got a Borah statue there that this artist sculpted from, added clay to a mannequin's head. It's a whole body of Borah.
Right.
It's Borah's original costume. I'm thankful for that. That's great. It's got my first broom in there, my wand.
Interesting.
There's Borah's gloves that I wear. I've got to repair them. So the reason I bring that up is because I only have 2 pair of gloves, and that mannequin has 1 pair of glove in here. So I need that glove, but I can't get it now because it's in the museum. So I got to sew these up tonight because I'm getting a hole in them. But I don't feel worthy. I'm thankful for that. And people send comments all the time or videos of that installation to me, or they post it on their Facebook page, and that's awesome. But I don't feel worthy at all. Because they say congratulations, or you have really made it. No, I'm a nobody.
I hear this from you, and I actually love that about you, where you maintain that even keelness about who you are with yourself. Because this actually leads me to a question that I wanted to ask you, because in the beginning, you talked about how you investing with Borah and in the community as well too, and how there are some hardships that comes with it as well. But then you also talked about the positive side of what you portraying Borah has on the community and even on yourself as well too. But then you also point out some of the more scary side where people are showing up your front door and you're wondering, hey, this is going too far. But then you have moments where you just talked about now, where you have people who recognize you outside of the makeup and then want to say thank you to you, and then they give you something as a result of the impact you had on them. So obviously there's, to me, in some degree, it seems like the positives outweigh the negatives, but the negatives are definitely felt, but the positives certainly do outweigh the negatives. So the question that I want to ask is that, are as a result of all the things you have gone through the good times and the bad times, are you happy with yourself as a result of what you've been through and what you've learned about yourself, the community, your loved ones, and things of that nature that made you appreciate more about yourself and in life in general? So yeah.
I am happy that I make other people happy. I am sad that I can't that I choose, I guess, to not make the time that I need to speak to my mom or see my family. They live in a different state, 17 hours away. I'm not happy with the fact that I choose to not go see them as often, or to help take care of my mom, who is the beginning stages of of dementia. My sister's taking care of her, so I feel bad that I choose not to help out as much as I need to. I am happy with how how this witch impacts people's lives in a positive way.
Right.
If I were to choose to, I'm scared to choose to. I'm scared to choose to go and to make the time to. This makes me sound like a very bad person. To help take care of my mom, or to take some relief off of my sister, because I would not know if I would be able to do what I need to do with Borah. And that, as I say that, makes me sound like I'm very selfish and self-centered and care more about the witch than I do my family. Wow.
You know what? You know what I'm gathering from you about this here?
You're not going to send me an insurance a bill for therapy, are you?
You know what but you know what I'm actually picking up from you on this here is that eventually when you do retire the character, and I'm sure you will have a lot more time to devote to your family, in this case with your mother here.
If she's alive.
Well, here's what I'm saying though. I think what I'm picking up here with you is that if you hadn't gone through with what you have gone through now, you obviously wouldn't be the person you are, but maybe you wouldn't have learned the things you would have learned in the event that once you do retire the character and your mother, you're able to give time to your mother and helping her, that maybe there's something along the way that this has helped you to develop the skills to be, you mentioned before, you learn to be more sympathetic, more compassionate. And I know some people who have relatives who have dementia, and I've never experienced it, but I've heard the stories, and it's always consistently rough from what they're explaining about how much time it takes to take care of somebody who has dementia. It's not an easy thing. But the most common thing that I also hear from them as well too is that they've been able to overcome certain hurdles that they've been through in their lives that helped him to be able to deal with the matter. From my perspective, hearing you tell your story and sharing with what you've been able to share with me, I think what I'm gathering here is that through this, you've been able to develop the skills to take the time to listen. Even though you mentioned before, your husband said that sometimes you don't listen, but I think there's something more that you're getting out of this in going through this here, that once you do walk away, all that stuff that had consumed your time, you're going to be able to develop the skills to really be more aware of the other things that you had chosen to stay away from. But now that you're going to devote the time to it, you have the compassion, you have the patience, and you also have the endurance to be able to deal with the matter, if you will. Maybe I'm projecting, and I think that might be the case here, but just listen to you talk. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting here. And I mean, I'm not sure if that's a fair assessment to make here, but I'm hoping that, because you're concerned how selfish it made you sound. I don't gather that from you at all. In fact, I think you're the furthest from being selfish from what you're telling me here. Although I do believe that, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think that you are a selfish person. In fact, I think you're the furthest from that. But I think, you have found something to help you to become a better person, if you will. I hope I didn't make it too cheesy when I say this here, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
No, 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 no. I mean, to become a better person, one thing is compassion.
Yeah.
Become more compassionate and understanding and empathetic, like I said earlier.
Right.
But sometimes I think to myself, time is going by. When is my mom going to pass? Time is going to go by, and when she's gone, she's gone. And here I am doing this witch thing. I did this witch thing, and I could have spent time with her or my sister or relieved my sister. I mean, we've had arguments.
Yeah.
When you're coming down, you're focused on this witch thing. It's like we've had. Well, I mean, in fact, she said, well, I mean, oh, my eye is itching. I'm not crying. My eye is itching. So yeah, because I can't, my mom has a house down there. My mom stays with my sister. My eye is so itching. Oh my God. There was an issue with the house, and my sister and I got in an argument about it, and that would not have happened if I had not been doing the switch thing. The end result was said to me, she says, "You're no longer my brother. You're no longer my brother. You're out of my life." So, and since then, she's come around and we talked. I know she has a lot of pressure on her.
Yeah.
So it circles back to, like, if I wasn't doing the switch thing, maybe wouldn't have had that argument. I don't know why I went off on that, but I did.
I think this is actually what I want people to understand of the realities of what someone goes through, because it's, as I said before, that I think people get the perspective, but they don't know the whole story. And that's the part that I'm most interested in here, as I said before, because I'm interested in understanding how the person deals with the struggles that they go with every day that most people don't even know about. And, they look at, your TikTok following, they look at your Instagram following, look at the amount of attention you're getting, the interviews you're being granted, and, the attention that you're getting for this character you're portraying here, and to a point where there's a part of that character in the museum that clearly has an impact to the community, but they only know that side of the story. They don't know the whole story. That's why I think this was, for me, was really interesting, because I really want to focus on those moments. I mean, the glamour side, don't get me wrong, that's fine, but that's where I think is the most fascinating, because what I do want to happen in the future is that I'm hoping, I say this again a million times with other people, but, let's say 10 years from now, someone watches this interview and they happen to come across it. I saw this interview with you when you were talking about your mother, and I didn't know all those things about you, and this is how you felt that time. I would hope at that point that you would feel better with yourself throughout the years, and that you've come to terms with, how you've been able to deal with it from that point on up to that later part of your life. And I hope that you'd be happy. Or maybe if you're going through a struggle where you're learning how to deal with certain things, I'm hoping that someone brings up the interview and says, I always saw from the outside, never looked at the inside. And then when I saw that, I learned a lot about you, and I respect you now as a person. And I would hope that when they listen to this here, they would say to you that I never got the impression you were selfish, even though you felt like you were a selfish person, but I never felt that you were, because you've done a lot of great things for the community, where you've changed a lot of people's lives. The kids who were going through some hurdles that they couldn't deal with here, but they saw you and you gave them a shed of hope, and you've helped them to that. You've talked about how a kid barely spoke, and they saw you, they started speaking. So clearly you have a connection with people, and you've actually helped a lot more people than you realize, and I think that's something you should remember, because that is your legacy. I personally I don't really care for legacy that much, but if someone were to point that here to you, I think that part of a legacy is really important, because that makes you remember what you've done in a positive light. if you ever come to a point in your life where you realize that maybe I'm not happy with myself, but if someone brings this up to you 10 years and said, but you have done good and you've done really good, and this is what you have done, and you realize, oh, wait a minute, you're right. So that's what I hope would happen here, because even though you said what you have said about how you felt like you were selfish, I don't get that impression at all. I understand with what you're saying, and I understand what people will say about the amount of time you're giving to this character. I get that. But I also understand too that the positives that's come out of it as well, where you're actually affecting people in a positive light more so than you realize. You're getting messages, you're getting gifts, and people are just saying thank you. And hey, you inspired my kid. Now my kid feels safe around you. That's actually really impactful. And I can see why Brim had highlighted you and said, you need to talk to this person. Because
I don't think Brim even knew any of this.
I don't think he did either, but I think Brim noticed something about you that he may have seen in that moment that struck an chord with him. And then, because when I messaged him, I said, hey, thank you so much for linking me with Shannon. He's like, you need to talk to Brian. Okay, fair enough. And then here we are. And now I understand why, whether it was intentional or not, but I understand why. Because again, if Brim points out a reason for you need to talk to this person, I'm all ears, because I trust his judge of character. Really, I mean that. If Brim is saying talk to you, it's for a good reason. I'm not to say I'm certainly not trying to pull myself, because I'm good at no. I just know that I'm more interested in focusing on other areas that are not glamorous, because I think that's where you really get to learn more about the person. So this was so much more than I anticipated here, because I don't know what to expect out of a conversation. I really don't. I like to do my due diligence, as I said before in the email, that see what I can find, point out some of the finer details, and then be able to delve into that. Because as I said before, I'm more interested in learning about the down and dirty through the glamours, if you will, because that's where you learn more about the person. And you have been very open with me, and you have been very vulnerable to share the stuff here with me in this capacity here. I don't take that stuff for granted. And I actually am grateful that you've been able to do that, because you may not realize it now, but to me, this is a form of a gift where people who may know you and may be fans of what you do, but to get to know the person under the makeup, to get to know the person under the lights, if you will, that's what I hope they can take away from here. Because if they see you, they say, I saw this interview, and I think you're a great person, because even though this is hard, you still look out for the best in the community, because you're always thinking about, the things that we take into consideration and what we want to give back to you. And you always are very grateful for that. And I'm so glad you said that, because maybe at certain points they may have thought that when you had said, I'm going to retire the character, there might be some negative connotation when they may perceive it. But now that you've elaborated further about that, they will realize, I hope, that a time will end for that, but he's never going to forget the people that it affected. And that's the most important thing. That's what I hope that they would take away from all this here. And also at the same time, just not show up your front door anymore. So that's what I'm also hoping as well too. But with that being said, though, I want to know if there's anything in particular that, because this episode would actually be uploading in the next week or two. Yeah, next week or two, that you can, that you may want to announce here to people to anticipate that they could be looking forward to and checking out with you. Because I'll also make sure to have all the links in the description down below for social media, the website, the whole bit down there for people to follow you as well, to who may not be aware of you, that you could announce that people can look out for it in an upcoming future here.
But it's thank you for that opportunity. I hope. Well, I've written a book, and most people know about it. It's called Borah's Book of Pitiful Poems and Pictures. And it's 31 poems and 31 pictures that coincide with the poems. And it's my childhood memories told through the eyes of Borah, these poems. And that can be found at Walmart online and Amazon. And actually, they can purchase that on Salem's Black hat that you wear, society.org. And and then I've written another book that Brian has written, and Borah narrates it, and it's a Christmas book. And it's a really cute book. And it's got Santa Bernard, who's Santa Claus, and Mrs. Santa Bernard. And it's got Chihuahuas that play the little elves, not to be politically incorrect. It's got the reindeer, which are greyhounds, and there's this little puppy that lives out on the street, and this other puppy that has a home that's a runt and who's picked on, and so they make a connection. So I'm looking for an illustrator for that book, and I hope that that book will be out in September or November of next year, 2023. So that's really all that I have going on right now, because what I've done was I learned through this year, because with all the interviews that I've done with putting together this, for the first time, a Halloween party that I spoke briefly on earlier, that took a lot of energy. That was last week. That was last Friday. It took a lot of energy, and it was very stressful. I also do weddings and wedding vow renewals. So
right.
I'm this year I realized I need to kind of focus in 2023 on just street performing and the weddings that I've already booked. So the point is, I guess there's no point. Just hopefully be on the lookout for this book that's coming out in November of 2023. This Christmas book. And if anybody wants to book weddings or wedding vow renewals or divorces or baby gender reveals, they can go on to Salem's blackhatsociety.org under services and get all the information that they need. I am booking through 2024 right now, and I have a few slots left in 2023. So really that's it. And I think another thing too to be on the lookout for is every year from here on out, Borah is going to be on WROR 105.7. Let me say that again. WROR 105.7 with Bob and LBH on the morning show here in Boston, talking about Halloween in Salem. So that's going to be, I think, a regular thing every year, which is fun, which would be a lot of fun. So that's really it. Trying to focus and keep things streamlined and simple.
Well, on that note, then we'll go ahead and close it off here. But I do want to say again, thank you for giving me your time to converse with me here, because this was actually a lot of fun, and I have learned much more than I anticipated here. But I got to know you as a person, which is what I really wanted. So I hope others who come across the listens and watches it, they'll also get the same thing out of it as well too. So for the cameras, I want to say thank you again. The door is always open for you. If you ever want to come back, I would love to continue on this conversation again. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, you left me a lot to think about here with as well too, which is one of the greatest things that I enjoy from the conversations I have, where whoever I converse, they leave me something to think about to carry on with my life, if you will. So if anything, thank you for that as well too.
Yeah, you're welcome. But thank you for having me. And anytime you want to chat, anytime I need some therapy, reach out to